or the 105th Psalm. It's got 45 verses in it. What if we did 15 at a time? Usually we do around 12 or 10. We'll do 15 at a time. So I need someone who can do 1 through 15, 16 through 30, and 31 through 45. Let's go with 1 through 16, Russ, 1 through 15, 16 through 30, Alice, and Dan, can I have you do the rest? Numbers? Yeah, all right, here we go, so that people watching online can hear.
Psalms 105, God's providence and care of his people described. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord. Call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the people. Sing unto him. Sing psalms unto him. Talk ye all his wondrous works. Glory ye in his holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord. Seek the Lord and his strength. Seek his face evermore. Remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. He is the Lord our God. His judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, Unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. When they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it. Then they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people. He suffered no man to do them wrong, yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm.
Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread. He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant, whose feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in iron, until the time that his word came. The word of the Lord tried him. The king sent and loosed him, even the ruler of the people, and let him go free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his substance, to bind his princes at his pleasure and teach his senators wisdom. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than their enemies. He turned their heart to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his word. He turned their waters into blood and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance in the chambers of their kings.
Spake, and there came divers sorts of flies, and lice, and all their coasts. He gave them hail for rain, and flaming fire in their land. He smote their vines also, and their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. He spake, and the locusts came, and caterpillars, and that without number. And he did eat up all the herbs of the land, and devoured the fruits of their ground. He smote also all their firstborn in their land, the chief of all their strength. He brought them forth also with silver and gold, and there was not one feeble person among their tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them fell upon them. He spread a cloud for a covering, and fire to give light in the night. The people asked, and he brought quails and satisfied them with bread of heaven. He opened the rock, and the waters gushed out. They ran in the dry places like a river. For he remembered his holy promise, and Abraham his servant. And he brought forth his people with joy, and his chosen with gladness, and gave them the lands of the heathen, and they inherited the labor of the people, that they might observe his statutes and keep his laws. Praise ye the Lord.
Thank you. That's great. Love to hear God's people reading his word. Amen. All right. So, who is the author of this psalm? Doesn't say here. But is there anywhere else that might give us a clue as to who wrote this? Anybody find that? Well, in 1 Chronicles 16, it talks about, in verse number 7, says, "Then on that day David delivered first this psalm to thank the Lord into the hand of Asaph and his brethren. Give thanks unto the Lord, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the people." And it goes on and says, very similarly in verse 22, "Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm." It's not exactly word for word. It's a little bit truncated, but it is very, very similar. So we could say probably that David wrote this one. What's the occasion of this writing? Yeah, again, it doesn't say here in the Psalms. But in 1 Chronicles 16, the occasion was then when the people of Israel were taking the ark to Jerusalem. So remember, Uzzah had died, and they left it there at the threshing floor of Obed-Edom, and then found out that the Lord was blessing Obed-Edom, so they said, well, let's try this again. And David said, let's look at the law to find out how this is supposed to go, and realized, oh, the Levites are supposed to carry it. So as they're going back, then this is what they were singing as they were taking it back. So this is the occasion of it. According to 1 Chronicles 16, not from the Psalms. So does that put any kind of special flavor on this as you read through it? Maybe when we read through it again, we'll find out if there was any kind of special thing there that makes you, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? All right, so what were some of the key words? When we read through that, usually we'd read through it again, but it's such a long psalm, and the rest of these, the next few are going to be pretty long. What were some of the key words that you noticed? And by key words, we mean, what were some of the repeated words, the words that stood out, or maybe it wasn't a word, but an idea that stood out? Remember last time, the idea was a lot of nature words and creation, and a lot of animals and things like that. Was there anything like that in this psalm that you noticed? Yeah, Rod.
Just lots of he.
Yeah.
He spoke, he brought, he opened, etc., etc., etc.
This is one of the few psalms that doesn't address God really at all, right? It doesn't say you did this, it says he did this. It's kind of third person. Yeah, that's a great observation. Yeah. Anybody else notice anything? The word land is in this psalm 9 times. That's probably the word that occurs the most, just besides the and he and those some of those words, but land. And it has to do a lot of people moving around, right? People moving from here to here to here. So the word land shows up quite a bit. Any words of note? Any words that don't maybe appear in other places that were kind of interesting? That doesn't always mean anything, but the more you read through it, the more you kind of notice some words a little bit. Julie?
I've never seen the word ham.
Yeah.
The land of ham.
Yeah.
In any of the Psalms so far.
Yeah.
That I can remember.
Yeah, I think there's a very definite usage of that word,
Yeah,
right?
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe in contrast to God's covenant people, the people of Shem, this is the land of Ham. Yeah.
Yeah, but I see the word covenant a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. And then smoked
Mm-hmm.
twice.
The word smote. Yeah. Yeah, I'm repeating it for people that are watching online.
Okay.
I got some notes on the way we're doing services, so trying to incorporate those notes, suggestions, criticisms, notes. Anybody else notice anything? Yeah, Jake.
Just a reflection, one bus really sticks out. In bus 41, it says, he opened the rock and the waters gushed out. They ran into dry places like a river.
Mm-hmm.
In one of my personal devotions, like 2 years ago, it connected this to, I think, one of the buses in First or Second Corinthians, I think, where it talks about
Yeah.
the Israelites in the wilderness, and then it says, and that rock was Christ.
Yeah.
And that was just a moment for me. I know, like, physically was
Yeah.
Who's that? Oh, and that was just a light bulb moment. It was great, and it's kind of stuck with me. So I always love that part of this passage.
Yeah. God's provision out of nothing, nothing that should be provided, he provides. The rock. Yeah. Good. Lydia.
I just, they're not like keywords, but like we talked about Joseph and Abraham, and it talks about like the Exodus-ish words.
Yeah.
So it's not really one specific word, but it's like a theme.
You say that there's a lot of Exodus-y type things in this. Why is that interesting? Especially on the psalm that we did last time. Last time, Psalm 104 was a lot about creation in Genesis 1 through 1 and 2. And then we pick it up with Abraham and Jacob and a lot of the book of Exodus. Just moving forward. I wonder, I won't be here, but I wonder if that theme continues in Psalm 106. Something to look for. Something to look for. Yeah. Very astute, Lydia. Yeah, there are a few words, senators. That's the only time this word is in Scripture, where it's senators. Then there's some words that are only found here in all of Psalms, but found in other places like lice, caterpillars. The word confirmed, that's the only time it's in the book of Psalms, and the word feeble. And that word, I would say, if I had to pick two words that were the key words, it would be land and covenant. And then the confirmed is kind of with that same idea. But there's this idea that God was taking them from land to land, and he was confirming his covenant. He was keeping his promise. So that's a major idea. Yeah.
Because it starts out with Abraham.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Talks about Abraham's seed, and then we start going into the Moses story of the children.
Yeah.
It mentions Isaac and Jacob. And
Yeah. God's people and everybody else.
that's it.
Yeah. 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 Good. All right. Well, with that idea then, what's the theme of this? What would be a good theme or a summary that would make Psalm 105, again, stand out from some of the other Psalms? Noi? Oh, she's just rubbing her eye. Okay. Looking for somebody. I put as one of the themes, God keeps his covenant, protects, delivers, and provides. And I bet you can't guess what my outline's going to be. Yeah, God keeps his covenants, protects, delivers, and provides. What would be a good theme, a good summary of this psalm? God's everlasting faithfulness. Yeah, good. Oh, that was Roxanne's. Oh, good job, Roxanne. Way to give her credit there. Yeah. Anybody else? Of course, one of the reasons that we have the Old Testament and God's dealing with Israel is so that we can know God's everlasting faithfulness, right? You say God's a faithful God. Well, how do you know? Well, good grief. Look at how he dealt with the children of Israel. And when you see that, you know what a gracious, forgiving, long-suffering God he is, right? God's going to be a lot more patient with me as one of his children than he is. If he's that patient with Israel, he'll be really patient with me. So, yeah, good. Anybody else? Yeah, Jake.
Or simply just the provision of the Lord to his people.
The provision of the Lord to his people. Yeah, good.
We see it clearly, it's not for everyone.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Again, there's that distinction between his people and the Hamites and others. Yeah. I also put God's establishment of the nation of Israel. It is kind of the telling in poetic form of the establishment of the nation of Israel. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's read it again. This time we're going to be listening for the tone. What do we learn about God from this psalm? How might this psalm be helpful in your life? Why might you come back to this psalm later on? What kind of situation would you be in where you'd need that? An outline, and then a good verse to memorize. So I need 3 volunteers once again. And if we don't have enough, I'll do it. Jacob or Lydia, you're sure welcome to as well. Lydia, would you? Great. And then I need 2 more. 2 more. Oh, Julie and Zach. Okay, is that okay? Great. All right, here we go. Lydia, we'll start with you. 1 through 15, please. 1 through 15. 1, 15, and all the verses in between.
Just check.
Yeah.
Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the people. Sing unto him, sing psalms unto him, talk ye of all his wondrous works. Glory ye in his holy name, let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord. Seek the Lord and his strength, seek his face evermore. Remember his marvelous works that he hath done, his wonders, and the judgments of his mouth. O ye seed of Abraham his servant, ye children of Jacob his chosen. He is the Lord our God, his judgments are in all the earth. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he made with Abraham in his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant, saying, Unto thee will I give the land of Canaan, the lot of your inheritance. When they were but a few men in number, yea, very few, and strangers in it, when they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people. He suffered no man to do them wrong, yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm.
Now I know how Ben feels on Sunday night. Here you go, Julie. 16 through 30.
Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread. He sent a man before them, even Joseph, who was sold for a servant, whose feet they hurt with fetters. He was laid in iron, until the time that his word came. The word of the Lord tried him. The king sent and loosed him, even the ruler of the people, and let him go free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his substance, to bind his princes at his pleasure, and teach his senators wisdom. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. And he increased his people greatly, and made them stronger than their enemies. He turned their hearts to hate his people, to deal subtly with his servants. He sent Moses his servant, and Aaron whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them, and wonders in the land of Ham. He sent darkness, and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his word. He turned their waters into blood, and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance in the chambers of their kings.
Spake, and there came divers sorts of flies and lice in all their coasts. He gave them hail for rain and flaming fire in their land. He smote their vines also and their fig trees, and brake the trees of their coasts. He spake, and the locusts came, and caterpillars, and that without number, and he did eat up all the herbs in their land, and devoured the fruit of their ground. He smote also all the firstborn in their land, the chief of all their strength. He brought them forth also with silver and gold, and there was not one feeble person among their tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of them fell upon them. He spread a cloud for a covering, and fire to give light in the night. The people asked, and he brought quails, and satisfied them with the bread of heaven. He opened the rock, and the waters gushed out. They ran in the dry places like a river. For he remembered his holy promise in Abraham his servant. And he brought forth his people with joy, and his chosen with gladness, and gave them the lands of the heathen, and they inherited the labor of the people, that they might observe his statutes and keep his laws. Praise ye the Lord.
All right, thank you. Great. All right, let's think about then what's the tone of this psalm? What would you write down for the tone of which this psalm is written in? Sometimes it's sorrowful, lamenting, praise-filled. What would be the tone of this one? Jake? Testifying. Yeah. It's maybe didactic, teaching. Yeah. Good. What do you think? Zach? remembrance. Yeah. Yeah, it's reminiscent maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Rod?
God's power.
God's power. Yeah, it's supposed to be spoken as God's decree over this. Yeah, I put triumphant. It's kind of a triumphant tone. Kind of God did all this and it was great. Yeah. All right. So what do we learn about God in this psalm? Is there anything unique that we learn about God in this psalm? Or anything that stands out? Dan?
His faithfulness
Yeah.
is constantly there. When he said, he hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations.
Yeah.
Long time.
1,000 generations. We won't see more than, what, 3, right? Come and go between people that we see in our lifetime. And God keeps his covenant to 1,000 generations. His faithfulness. We learn about his faithfulness here. Yeah, good. Good. Anybody else? Alice.
The last verse kind of strikes me out. That they might observe his statutes and keep his laws. Our God did this, and yet God is faithful, yet the people often fail him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing for God to be faithful to people who are always doing the right thing. It's another thing for God to be faithful in the face of people who almost hate doing the right thing, right? Yeah. Good. I wrote, God keeps his promises, he looks after his people, and shows his character in the dealings with his people. Yeah, again, that's one of the things I love. Christians that don't like the Old Testament, I don't understand that, because if you want to know who God is, you've got to read the Old Testament. You see on full display God's dealing with people. And then you just make that like, well, if it's like that for them, how much more for me? Because he's in covenant with me. He made me his son. He gave me his spirit. You know, if he's all those good things with them, how much more for me? So this is one of the great things about the Old Testament and this psalm in particular. So how might this psalm be helpful in your life? What might be the occasion? You need to break out good old Psalm 105. Julie?
I just thought if this is something to be helpful in your life, kind of what you know, if he keeps his promises to the Jews, he will keep his promises to us.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we just always gotta remember that. I mean, yeah, he loved them and he protected them and he loves us.
Yeah.
He will protect us. He's always there for us, just like he was for the Jews. He washes and guards them, and he's washing and guarding us too.
Yeah. If he was a good shepherd to them, how much more will he be a good shepherd to us? And that doesn't mean we're more important per se, but there's a different covenant, right? There's a different kind of love. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good. Anybody else? How might this psalm be helpful in your life? Or when I'm blank, I should go back and read Psalm 105. I wrote, reflecting on God's dealing with Israel helps me remember that God's plan includes pain. So much in this psalm is this bad thing happened. I mean, it talks about Joseph, whose feet were in fetters. He was laid in iron. You know, Israel had to go through plagues. Abraham obviously had to go through. So when you see God's faithfulness, you also notice in Psalm 105 the pain that's involved. And so when I'm feeling like God doesn't really care because I'm in pain right now, kind of like what we're talking about with Job on Sunday nights, I can read Psalm 105 and say, yeah, God's faithful, he's good, we should praise him, even though it does include pain. So that's kind of what I wrote down. Good. All right. Well, now the tough one. Ooh, an outline. Was there any kind of way that you could look at this psalm and notice some things? Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Operated well for you guys. Verse number 1, a call to give thanks to the Lord, verses 2 through 5, ways to give thanks to the Lord, and those ways are to sing, glorify, seek, and remember. And then 6 through 45, all of the many reasons we ought to give thanks.
6 through 45. Okay, yeah. That's good. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Noise like, just make sure you tell them that wasn't mine. That one was yours. Yeah. No, that's great. Oh, that's great. Yes. Anybody else? Russ? Yeah. Good. Bless you. Good. Anybody else? Yeah, Noi.
I have 1 to 5, give thanks to the Lord, the one to reign for the occasion. 6 to 12, his covenant to Abraham and his descendants. 13 to 16, the covenant in action. 17 to 26, people who used to carry out the covenant. 27 to 41, the signs and wonders he used to show them. 42 to 44, the Lord always remembers his covenant.
Awesome. Great. Great. Very good.
45.
Yeah. 45 is its own category. Yeah, good. I had mine very simply. God's establishment of the nation of Israel is Abraham, 1 through 11, Jacob, 12 through 24, and Jacob and Joseph, of course, but Jacob was in there. Moses, 25 through 42, and Joshua, 43 through 45. So just, again, Genesis and Exodus. So, a lot of history, yeah, yeah. Anybody else? Oh. I also had verses 1 through 11, God keeps his covenants. Verses 12 through 35, 25, God protects. 26 through 38, God delivers. And verses 39 through 45, God provides. So, all right, well, let's say that you were able to hack into the New York Stock Exchange and you could, instead of the tickers, put one Bible verse from Psalm 105 on there so that everybody could see it, but you can only pick one verse that you thought would be just the best verse to out of this psalm. What would be a good verse to memorize? Because you can't have a piece of paper with you. You have to do it from memory if you're going to put it on the ticker. What would that verse be? Why'd you ask that question so weirdly? Rod?
In the Old Testament, they didn't have numbers, so I went 1 through 5.
Oh, sure. Yeah, all that hard work that Theodore Beza does, out the window. 1 through 5. Yeah, no, that's great. Good. Anybody else? Jake? Yeah, okay. To teach senators wisdom, yeah. I just put verse 1. I really like verse 1, but as we're going through it, that verse that Dan quoted was really, really good. And now, of course, at this moment, I'm not seeing it. Dan, what was the one that you mentioned? Where is it? Why can't I see it? There it is, 8. Yeah, I couldn't hear him. Yeah. Verse 8's a good one. Anybody else? All right. Well, great psalm. One to remember. And to Psalm